really changed the direction of my life. I didn't know how to set goals. I didn't know how to talk to people. You have to listen and pay attention to that whisper because it's so hard to hear that one. Is this the real path for me? But I totally believe that talent is only 10%. And I'm doing hard work too. I'm always looking for people who can mentor me, who can teach me. And I'm investing myself in order for me to create that skill, in order for me to build that skill of storytelling.
Welcome back, Wellness Ninjas, to another episode of the Wellness Dojo Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Craig, and I'm excited today to have a very special guest, somebody who I've done work with in the past and been extremely happy with. He's a filmmaker here in Calgary, does amazing work. Welcome to the show, Berryl Gamayao.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. I just want to start off by commending you on your work. Like, I follow you on social media, on YouTube, and you see a lot of great video content out on the internet now, as today's world has kind of emerged to a very video focused world. But something that I really love about you and your wife as well is you guys really seem to like get to the connection in the story that you guys are displaying. And so I'm excited to dive into that a little bit today too. But first of all, can you just tell the audience a little bit more about you and your journey to Canada and becoming a filmmaker?
Yeah, I came here in 2014. That was August 14, 2014. And I was a nurse back home. So when I got here, I think I'm kind of like looking in that path of nursing. But since I saw the process on how to being a nurse, um, that I need to go back to school again and have some student loans, I think that was not for me. So I just went to another path, and another path of not being safe and secure, just like serving people. And right now, we have a video production and a marketing company that really helps people. We have recurring clients, and I'm a proud dad and a husband, and Canada has been so good to us.
Mm. And you say, like, where was home for you before Canada?
Philippines.
The Philippines?
Yeah.
Awesome. Um, can you talk about that transition? Like, that must have been so tough. I know when you moved to Canada, you were a live-in caregiver at
Yes.
first. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So, back home when we studied nursing, I think that was the thought that I encountered, or the seed that was planted in my mind, is to, after school you need to leave country and you need to work abroad.
Mm,
And my brother was also he came in Canada like 2008. When he started his family, he invited me to go in Canada. So I grabbed that opportunity without having any goals in mind. I just
mm,
went into that thing. And when I came here, I think like after 3 months, I just bored, I felt homesick. And I don't know if you felt that, Kyle. Like for that moment of feeling of like identity crisis, that you're not really liking the person you're becoming.
mm,
So I started those questions of, hey, do I really like nursing? I think I'm not really good at school. I don't want to go back to school, and I'm not good at it. So I started to look around and just finding some people who can help me to level up my journey. And I think I started in stock market, and this guy was talking about stock market because I was like looking for just my one thing. Hey,
mhm,
what is that one thing that I'm naturally good at? And this guy led me to this guy who was talking about compound interest. And I just type in compound interest in Google, and this book came to me. The title is Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. So I Googled Darren Hardy, and Darren Hardy was talking about this guy named Jim Rohn. And when I typed the name Jim Rohn, that really changed the direction of my life, Kyle. Like, I found someone who's telling his story that I can relate to. His words are so simple that an ordinary guy can really understand it. And he was talking about adding value to people. You have to become valuable to the marketplace. He was teaching about why is this guy earning this kind of money twice as much of this guy, and it is because adding value to people, because he became valuable to the marketplace. And he quoted Zig Ziglar. He said, if you help enough other people get what they want, you can have everything you want. So I started to go out to the marketplace and just shake hands with people, like, hey, how can I add value to you? What current project are you doing right now that I can add value with? And I'm not asking for money. I'm just working for free. I think I started in a church, volunteering in marketing. And I found out that they needed video. So I started shooting in my iPhone 6, not knowing what I was getting into. I just literally pulled out my iPhone because they needed video, and I just start shooting. I can still pull up that video. Man, that was in 2017. And 6 years right now, here we are, and I'm talking to you, Kyle. So
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. And yeah, I'm really passionate as well about this topic on like identity. And you mentioned kind of going through this identity crisis and just getting to points in life. And I say points at plural because I think it comes in waves where we're continually asking ourselves, like, is this the right path for me? Like, paying attention to, does this actually feel right for me right now? Um, can you speak on that just a little bit too? I'm interested as somebody who's also continually questioning my purpose and questioning my direction in life. How do you kind of navigate that? Like, how do you pay attention to that gut feeling to go like, oh, this feels right to me?
I think, Kyle, it started when I was back home. It's like I wanted to grow as a person, but I didn't know that.
Mm,
I think I'm feeling that sense of, hey, you're not anymore growing, you're dying, you're just doing the things like a 20-year-old was doing. And because I was there back home, I was just, if I felt that, like that feeling, I will call my friends, I will call my buddies, I will doing the things to distract me.
mm,
So when I got here in Canada, I had that moment, that time when my brother and my sister-in-law were at work and my two lovely nieces were at school. I have to face that feeling. It's
mm,
like I went on depression. That's why when I got in that moment of loneliness, of reflection, I started to ask my question, because I don't have any more my buddies to call because they're at work, they're sleeping. When I encountered that one, I think that was the that really changed the direction of my life. And also because I found people, and I found people. Like literally, I was so naive, Kyle. I didn't know how to set goals. I didn't know that. I didn't know how to talk to people. I was just listening to tapes of Jim Rohn and I was just following it.
mm,
I mean, I know, like, I became an opportunity junkie, but I know I needed to go out in the marketplace and shake people's hand and add value to people. And I think that identity crisis is just, you have to listen and pay attention to that whisper, because it's so hard to hear that one. Is this the real path for me? It's so hard. And you will make a lot of mistakes. I did a lot of mistakes, but it doesn't matter because I was just like serving people. I was
Mhm.
just holding on that promise, Kyle, of if I help this person, I will get this. And that thing that I want is just to change my life, to change the direction of my life. So yeah, but for you, how do you pay attention to that? How do you
Yeah, it's very, I think very similar to how you described it, Beryl. It's, just continually, first of all, always being curious, which can sometimes get you into trouble, right? Like, I don't know if you notice it being a fellow entrepreneur, but I find that you're forced more into those quiet periods of reflection, of like having to sit with your thoughts and your feelings, right? Like, as busy a world it is to be an entrepreneur, it's also a very lonely world being an entrepreneur. You spend a lot of time, and I imagine you do as well, just like sitting editing videos and sitting on the computer and like really not being around people for long periods of time. And it forces you into this, like, is this really what I want? Is like this feeling doesn't feel good. What is this? Like, you really just, for me, it's been about just always being curious about everything, the good, the bad, the like the gut-wrenching feelings, and the really triumphant feelings too. Is just, what does this mean for me, right? And how do I get more of this feeling, and how do I avoid this feeling more too, right?
That's amazing. Yeah, I think what you said about like being surrounded with people, with like-minded people.
Mm,
Yeah, I think that what really changed the game for me when I was when I first met my monthly client, my first recurring client, and she became my mentor. That really changed the game for me because before I was listening to Jim Rohn, I was reading books, I was meditating, I doing affirmation. That's all good. Like it really helps me. But for me, when I started to hang around with this lady, man, it really changed the game for me because I started to see how she react, how she respond to people. I started to learn how to deal with people. I started to learn about selling on how to prospect people, book an appointment, present something, and then close the people. I started to learn that. And I didn't know that. Like that's a year and I started to work for free on that person, like for 3 months. And I'm telling you, Kyle, I she hired me after 3 months of work for a year. I was a full-time videographer for this lady, but I was also the guy who helped him to open the office, close the office, throwing the trash outside, driving her car. She moved into a new office. I was there. I was a mover. They were calling me the errand boy of this lady. But I can promise you this, Kyle. I was the best errand boy in Calgary at the time.
yeah. I mean, and that speaks to something you said earlier too, which is you were just trying different things to try and figure it out. I think we can get so paralyzed in life about like, what is my purpose, and what am I meant to be doing, and is this the right path? It can really paralyze you, right? But
Right.
it's like, if you just get out there and try things and just pay attention to what is feeling good and what isn't feeling good, like, you're gonna get a lot further than just sitting and contemplating, is this the right thing for me, right?
That's right. It's about action. And also, I think it's also about like someone believed in you. For the
Hmm.
first time in my life, somebody made me feel that I had worth. Somebody believed on me that what I do matters to people.
Yeah.
What I do help her business to grow, to scale. And I think I did it over and over again because when I met my second recurring client, my second mentor, he became my mentor too. He showed me the possibility. He showed me that hey, you can earn more, you can be more, you can do more, you can see more. And that two-person in my life when I was starting, man, that really changed the game for me, Kyle.
Yeah. It's so cool. And I love hearing other people's stories, which is why I wanted to bring you on, is because, I truly believe that everybody has a story. And like you said, even the simplest of words can be so powerful for people. And I mean, it's really inspiring to hear somebody like yourself who came from another country, came here to Canada, where we are now, and has just made this amazing career for themselves, and not just a successful career, but a career that like feels aligned, right? Is something that's unfortunately, I think, very unique to today's world, right?
Right. That's so
Yeah,
um because for me it was so hard, Kyle, when I was starting, but I wasn't focused on the hard stuff because I can do
yeah,
that thing. But for me, I think I was just s- serving people. That was like my focus until now. I always add value first to people. I always want to make sure that if I add value to people, because I truly believe in law of reciprocity, and the law of reciprocity means that if you give something, it will come back to you. But the key there is you don't have to think about it. You don't
yeah,
have to expect, because a lot of people DMing me like videographers that, hey, yeah, I truly agree on you working for free for someone, but there's a right time to ask for a high profitable fee. Like, bro, if that's kind of your mindset, you already lost it.
yeah.
Kind of like
It,
those things.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing as a business owner, especially somebody who's starting out in business, right? Because you want so badly to be successful, but also like you might need to put food on the table and
Mhm.
you have bills to pay and stuff. And it is this like really difficult mindset, and not just for an entrepreneur, I think also for somebody who maybe just isn't satisfied in their career path, right? And they're struggling with the idea of do I leave this, maybe secure career path that I'm in right now to go and chase my like purpose or whatever that might be. It's a scary thing for people to take a risk like working for free or like leaving a job that's not aligned with them. But like you said, it's you have to do it, I think, with the intent of um giving and not taking. And I think like if you can do that, right, how do I give more value through my actions? And I think if you can find a career path where you feel more empowered in that way of like I'm actually serving people, I'm actually creating an impact here. Like you said, it will come back to you, but you got to view it as like the long game, not necessarily the short game.
That's right. Love the process.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So speaking of the process, I want to ask you a little bit about your process, but I want to ask you specifically, since this is the Wellness Dojo podcast, I want to ask you like, what are some of the biggest struggles in terms of wellness with being a filmmaker? Like, I imagine you got to carry a lot of gear around. I imagine that's hard on the body. Video editing has got to be tough on the body at times too. But in your mind, what do you recognize as some of those kind of wellness struggles that you might face?
I think, especially when I was starting, when you're in the zone of editing,
Mm,
man, like 3 4 hours just pass, you forgot about to drink water and to eat, kind of like those things. Because for me, that's my mindset always, to just finish the edit just in one day instead of 1 week. That's a big project. So for me, I think every time I wake up, I walked, I just do kind of like push up or just simple workout, and I drink plenty of water. I drink 1 gallon of water just beside me, just to remind me that, hey, you need to be dehydrated. And you're right. That's I think that's what I'm looking for. The next step is just to get a mentor again
mm.
in fitness, in wellness, because running a business, family can be tough in mental. And and I just do simple things, simple, effective system. I just wake up, go for a walk, go for a run, and just be on this water bottle, just one
Yeah.
gallon water.
Yeah. I think that's such a common struggle with people, like people who work at their desk all day and stuff. It's like 3, 4 hours go by. You're like, shoot, I haven't even stood up in like the last couple hours, right? Yeah, and I feel you too, 'cause I do a lot of my own editing and stuff as well with videos and that kind of thing, and it's so easy because you get so laser focused in on the project, and then you forget you're like, oh, it's 2 o'clock. I haven't eaten lunch yet. Like I need to get up and move. I need to go get a workout in. It's tough to create that accountability, right?
Right. What about you? What's your process? What's your routine?
Oh man, my routine, like it changes always just based on my work schedule and stuff is constantly changing. Um, but that being said, like it's a lot of intuitiveness. Like I try and pay really close attention to like how my body's feeling. And so I'll try and recognize when, my neck's starting to get tight or something. Recognize, okay, I need to get up and do a workout, or I need to get up and stretch, and so I'll just be really intuitive in that sense. And I pay really close attention as well to my mental state throughout a day. So if I'm really struggling with focus, if I'm really struggling with my mental state, then that's when I know it's like I got to get outside, whether that's going and standing on the front porch for 5 minutes and just getting some fresh air, or whether that's taking the dog for a walk. Like it's just being really intuitive about those things. And then like another big thing that I've done, that a little bit off topic, but it really does impact my day, is like my morning routine is pretty specific, and I've had to really adjust it because I've got 3 kids and they got to get off to school in the morning. And you wake up in the morning sometimes, and the first you just want to like get to work, right? You're like, I got things to do, I got missions to accomplish here. Um, and you just want to get right to it. I had to really learn that there needs to be a balance there. Like it's like, okay, until the kids are off to school, maybe I don't get that much done, right? But I know that I can work until, 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. teaching classes, that type of thing. And so it's like for me, it's just been really like navigating the mental side of my routine, and being okay with it changing from time to time, and being okay with it just being flexible and intuitive. So
That's amazing. Do you have mentors in your fitness?
I'm sorry.
Do you have mentor in your fitness?
I have like along the way. I don't have like one specific like fitness mentor right now, but like honestly, like one of my biggest mentors growing up was my martial arts instructor. Like he pushed
Mm,
me to be in my best physical shape, and my dad as well. My dad was into weightlifting and stuff, so I think that planted a lot of seeds early in my years of like I was working out since I was like 14. And um but the martial arts side of the mentors that I grew up with in martial arts, uh for me that was huge. And then like honestly, like doing this podcast as well, talking with people like you and many of the other guests that I've had on, that just inspire me to continue to keep developing, continue to keep growing and learning from each other. Just the community to me is oftentimes my mentor, right? Whether that's the clients that we're working for, or whether that's, a community of like-minded people who are trying to achieve similar things as us. Those things drive me, right? And they remind me constantly to just keep going and keep growing and developing myself so that I can continue to hopefully inspire somebody else out there, right?
that's amazing. You are inspiring, by the way.
No, thank you. Thank you. Well, likewise, I reciprocate it. Um, can you tell me about the funeral that you filmed? I'm super intrigued about how that came to be, and because you talked about like always just trying different things. And when I saw that really fascinated me. Can you tell me about the funeral that you worked?
That was in COVID times.
Mm,
Like because it's everybody's close, you don't have any projects. And this guy who knows me recommended me to this guy, and they were asking if we can cover that funeral. And I think that's gonna be my first and last in funeral, because it's kind of like sad. The energy there is, of course, I'm sympathizing, empathizing with them. But as a videographer, when you go to there and you edit it, it's kind of like sad and lonely. And so I did that I just because there's no work. I needed to do what it takes, whatever it takes. I needed to do it. And I haven't done it. So for me, I always jump to this something in order for me to try it, because I truly believe on that. As a videographer, you need to try all industries, because how will you know if you like it, if you like something or not, if you haven't tried it? So when I got into that, I said to myself, no, 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 this is not for me, because I know other guys who's doing it, and that's not for me. So I tried everything. I tried weddings, I tried corporate stuff, head talking headshots, I tried commercial real estate. I tried those stuff. And once you got into a place that, okay, I don't like this, I will just um brand myself as this and as that. And right now we partnered with a 20-year photographer here in Calgary that's giving us 15 to 20 weddings, which was great because I don't have to market myself to there.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we are focusing on people who are building brand to create content for them, so they don't have to edit, they don't have to post, they don't have to do those stuff. We just have to film once a month or quarterly and create content as much as we can, so we can have content for a month.
Yeah.
So
I love it. And that's like the biggest headache of running a business for me anyways. Always is like the time I, it's funny because I love the content creation side of things. Like I really enjoy it, but it's so time consuming, and then running a business, there's so many different aspects to it. And anybody in life, I think too. Like there's so many different aspects to life. It's like anything else. You're like, I need to clean the house, I need to, spend time with the kids, I need to do all these different things. Like there's not enough time in a day. Going back to the funeral real quick, I just think it's so cool because when we look at like a wedding, for example, people are like, yeah, I want to capture this the right way so that I have this memory the right way and stuff. That was what really kind of grabbed my attention with the funeral, is this idea of like, yeah, like you could go back to that. Like if you tell that story in the right way and you present that day in the right way, it's a really special thing for somebody to be able to look back at maybe on an annual basis and just have this beautiful memory of this person. That sounds really, really cool.
yes, I totally agree.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, and off of that, I'm really curious because one of the things that I mentioned off the top that you are so good at, in my opinion, is finding the story within the video, right? Finding and telling the story in a way that's just so inspiring. And even if it's a short, 2-minute video, just finding that. How do you do that with people? How do you kind of create and find the right story for people to tell? Because everybody has a story, but not everybody is able to tell their story in a way that resonates with people.
right. I think storytelling, I'm a work in progress still. I'm still learning about storytelling. But when I was starting, I think that's the key for me, that I have this innate like talent that I can see, or if I hear something, oh, that would be a good intro. Oh
Mm-hmm.
man, that moment is a good outro. We have this mentality of shoot to edit. So while filming, we're already editing in our minds. We can feel the vibe and the mood of it. And I think storytelling is like a roller coaster. You have to, when you tell a story, it's not all about hype. It's not about, it's not all about the ups and downs. It's also about the starting point when you were just in the line of having that roller coaster. And how will you hook people in the first 15 to 30 seconds of the intro video? Those kind of things, Kyle, I think. But I truly believe that talent is only 10%. And I'm doing hard work too. I'm always looking for people who can mentor me, who can teach me. And I'm investing myself in order for me to create that skill, in order for me to build that skill of storytelling. And storytelling, I think the more you talk to people, that's why when we got connected, I wanted to talk to you and Pam
Mhm.
just to see, hey, what your relationship look like? How does it work? Like kind of like asking question and building a relationship. And I know you can't do that in every project, but as much as I can, if I can meet people, if I can talk to people, the more time that I spend to them, the more the things that I learn from them. So
It's
yeah,
like building relationships, right? It's
right.
like it's not just it's the same way I approach my business. And I think we're very much aligned in that. Just I know that from, having worked with you on that Pam's Journey video, right? And it's not just about the project or the goal or the result that you're trying to accomplish at the end of the day. It's about the relationship that you're building. It's about learning more about people and understanding people. And, I'm sure even doing that project, just through hearing our stories and our relationships, you were able to learn something from that, the same way that we were able to learn something. And I know I learned something from even watching your process and learning more about you and who you were as well. It just makes the experience so much more powerful and probably much more rewarding, I imagine, for you as well as, it does for me, right?
Yes, I totally believe on that. They call it relational capital.
Mm,
I think yeah, you can get capital, you can get money from it, but man, one contact could change it all. One
yeah.
contact could change it all. I remember this. Just insert a story, Kyle. I was working with this nonprofit organization, and that was during pandemic. So I told them because they're having this event. It's kind of like opening up. They have this event, and I told them that, hey, I will create you a highlight video on that event for free, no charge, anything. So I went there. When I went there, um, they don't need they're restricting me to record the audio from the speeches. Like, hey, how can I tell the story if I don't have that recording? So I just shrug it off and I just suggest again that, okay, if we don't get the speeches, can we get testimonials? And they said yes. So this lady helped me to just pull people and just ask questions. And
Mm,
we had a great time capturing people, grabbing people, and asking people just like raw. And she really liked the experience. Now, Kyle, little did I know that lady that I was working with, she was a marketing director of Haskell School of Business. Crazy. That's and after I delivered the video, she hired me the next week that, hey, we're gonna do this project, blah blah blah, and I want you to be on that project. And
yeah.
she opened up to me many um contacts like the Schulich engineering of school. Man, that's why I truly believe on what you said. It's about relational capital, social currency.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you get too focused on what am I getting back from this, right? Like you said before, it really clouds your ability to focus in on just creating genuine relationships. And like, really, at the end of the day, no matter how much money we make on a project or doing in our careers or whatever, we don't remember that. Like that's not the thing we're gonna look back on and remember. It's the thing that we're gonna remember is like the relationships, who impacted me in my life. You're not gonna remember who paid me the most, or I mean maybe you will, but that's not the thing that's really gonna drive your core, right? That's
Right.
not the thing that's really gonna drive your core. It's gonna be that person that said that thing to me that really stuck with me for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. I love it, Kyle.
And I remember when we were recording the video for Pam's Journey, I remember talking with her and she's like, I just don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go. Like some of the things that we're filming, I just don't see how it's gonna work and stuff. And then you see this video come together at the end, and you're just like, it's just amazing. Like you said, just like piecing those things together, but in a way that really tells somebody's story in a unique way. I mean, I like to talk and I like to story tell as well, but I couldn't have done it in the way that you did it. Not at all. So it's truly a beautiful thing what you can do with video and storytelling. So
Thanks, man. I think going back to Pam, I think that's like a strategy or technique. If the person is kind of like nervous and because it's awkward, we're not used to have like cameras in our
yeah,
face. I always do something that they're comfortable doing. Like remember, she was writing
hmm
on her journal, kind of like those things, walking, running, exercise with you, and I'm just
yeah,
documenting because yeah, we can script it out, we can direct those people, but I'm always looking for natural stuff because that's who she is. That's who you are, Kyle. You're teaching people. And I love when you are in the zone. I love that thing. So once you
yeah,
capture that, once you see that in the camera, oh man, you have golds in there. So
yeah, yeah. It was a beautiful, beautiful video. Um, what would your message be to other aspiring, maybe it's filmographers, or maybe it's just anybody who's just like we kind of talked about, trying to find that thing that's their thing? Do you have any advice for those people?
yes, I think start on something that just I think for me going back, I think find someone who you really wanted to go on that place to, successful person, and just hang around with them, hang around with that person. Because I think what the one thing that the one thing that I did differently, Kyle, was I wasn't focused on the gears. I wasn't focused on the gear reviews on the YouTube. No, no, no. I wasn't focused on that. If you're in a place of you're just really finding your passion, your thing, your one thing that you can dedicate your life to it, I think you need to be surrounded with someone who you can really align with your values because you will learn something about like volunteering or working for free. You will learn something that, oh, I really like that thing. Oh, I don't like that thing. So for me, getting out there and shaking people's hand will really make a difference to people. And once you get into someone, just listen to them. I if you can't get into that table, serve the water. Just
Mm,
get something. Just get creative because I know this. A lot of people are DMing me, "Hey, how do you get to someone else's door and I'm asking for free?" Man, of course, you need to be creative. You need to research someone and find something that you can add value with. And
mm,
for this lady, I saw that she was doing her stuff, and I offered myself to document what she was doing along the way. And we really document that one. So I solved her problem. You need to solve people's problem, not only just, hey, Kyle, can I work for you for free? Kind of like those things. Hey, Beryl, can I, if you need extra hand, I can work for free and do this. And like people does that.
mhm.
Why not be creative in such a way that you're authentic? Because that's the key, authenticity. I asked my client right now, hey, why did you, because I DM'd him. I don't know if
Yeah,
you know him. His name is Steve Holbrook.
yeah, I do. Yeah.
I just, man, I just messaged him and I said, hey, brother, I saw your video on YouTube. You're having a speech in this, and in this part or section, I your story really touched my heart. So I edited a video, a montage video of you, and you can use it in your social media. Man, he opened his door because why? I add value first. When we got into a meeting, because I know how to book an appointment, when he got into a meeting, I gave him free video, and then I worked for free for a month for that guy,
Yeah.
adding value after value, kind of like those things. So connections, you need connections, you need social currency, you need relational capital.
Yeah.
It's not gonna change when you are in the basement editing. I mean, it might, but that's those people are unicorn. But for me as an ordinary guy, I need to go out there. I need to
Yeah.
shake people's hands.
It's real work.
Yeah,
Like,
real work.
yeah, yeah, it is. It's real groundwork, real creativity. Um, and I think if I heard you correctly at the very beginning, it's like it's really about like just get started, like just start. And I think I do think people get so paralyzed by the, like you said, like researching the equipment and do I have the right stuff? When I started this podcast, it was very similar. We're like, okay, how do we start? We got to have good quality microphones, we got to have the right lighting and stuff, and then eventually you're just like, let's just put some stuff out and learn along the way, and we'll slowly get better. And like I know I don't have the best quality video and stuff like that, like on YouTube, but like I believe in the message, I believe in the journey that we're on and where we're going with it. And like I believe in the relationships, right? And like you said, the relationships are just such a huge part of the journey, right?
That's
It's
right.
everything. Yeah.
And I think that's what people stopping them, because they're looking for lack of resources instead of
Hmm.
being resourceful.
Yeah.
If the thing that you're doing is not simple and it's not effective, or it's not simple effective system, you're gonna burnt out. If you're just looking for taking time to set up the lights, taking time to set up this and that, instead of focusing on the content and the message, man, it's gonna burn you out.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. It's so true. It's so true. Um, I think that's a powerful message, just for people who are trying to kind of find their thing, or just even get started on their thing. Maybe they know what their thing is, or they think they know, and they're just afraid to take that leap. Can you just talk to me real quick before we do wrap this up about fear? I imagine you've experienced the fear before, and I think just as we're talking about just that feeling of being crippled by things, we can't it would be a disservice to not talk about fear. So, what kind of fear have you felt along your journey? And I can only imagine the fear of moving to a new country and just, jumping 2 feet in like that. But what's fear been for you and how have you overcome it?
um I think I have a lot of fears too, of course, but I'm more afraid on the path of being safe and secured if I went to nursing. I mean, I respect people who are nursing, but for
Of
me,
course.
that's not for me.
Mm.
And I acknowledge fear. I acknowledge those things. And I think those things really exist, but I'm not focusing on the fear. That's why I always listen and read books, because instead of being fearful about on this doing something, I just jump on it. Man, I'm this guy. If I need to try something, I just jump on it and I'll just figure out on along the way. And I remember this story that I did my first wedding, Kyle. He found me on Kijiji. So
Okay.
it was the expectation is low in there.
Yeah.
But of course, I was the guy who wanted to serve and give the best result expectation that they can have. And because I was double booked on that time, I was have this corporate event, and then I was at this wedding, so I hired someone to fill up my corporate event, and then I went there and had their wedding, captured their wedding. Man, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, that was the first time. I don't have any experience, and I formatted the SD card of the main cam, or the main camera, the first camera for that wedding. I lost all the data.
Oh Oh no.
Talking about fear, man. Talking about fear. And so I did whatever I can. So I send the SD card to this person, to US, to this, and it just didn't they didn't recover it. Because when I was backing up the files, I thought I inserted two SD card and I thought I was copying the two SD
Mhm.
card to my external hard drive. Little did I know I was copying the same second SD card, not the first one.
Oh man.
And then the next day, because I have an event, a speaking event, I formatted it because I needed the SD card. Man, I learned a lot of that one. And I was so crippled by that. But what I did was I just go and like I knock on the door and just showed up and I told everything to them. Of course, the bride was so pissed off to me, and I refund everything. I
Yeah.
refund everything. But and all the community, like the videographers out there, they were telling me, "Hey, you can go back to Philippines. Hey, you can give me the contract for me and your other contracts for me." Kind of like those things. It's not helpful. It's not really
No.
positive. Yep. But but I'm so blessed because of my wife. She really pushed me that, hey, things need this is going to pass through. Like this hard stuff, it will pass. And what lessons we learned here, we're going to apply it in the next one. And sure enough, last year we did like 25 weddings. If I'd stopped there, I didn't get those things. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I
so
love
good,
it.
Ken.
Thank you for sharing that story. I think it's so important to, you know, in the nature of like creating highlight reels. I think it's so important to also have those stories stay with us too. Some of those, like, I don't know if you would deem that as a failure, right? But those failures that we do come across, because now when something similar comes up, because inevitably we're going to have more failures that do come up, we're going to have more struggles and mistakes that happen. We can look back at that and kind of have that mindset of like, yeah, this too shall pass, right? This isn't the end of the world. I've experienced this before, and I know that I can get past it. And it's really important, I think, for people to remind themselves in times of struggle of other times that they've struggled, and the fact that like I'm still here today. I'm still pushing forwards. I'm still further ahead than I was before. And I think it does help us get through those struggles. So thanks for sharing that story of struggle. That was I can only imagine how you were feeling in that moment. Like,
Oh man, yeah. What about
yeah.
you, Kyle? What's your biggest mistake, biggest failure in your business? How did
Oh
you
man,
overcome it?
my biggest failure in my business was we we tried to open a commercial space back in 2017, I believe. We wanted to open a commercial space for our business where we could teach martial arts, fitness, have the massage therapy, like have everything in one place. And so we started looking for spaces. We found one. I fell in love with it. It was the perfect space. It was like 3,500 square feet. And so then we were like putting the business plan together and like working out all the financials and like, can we make it work? And, I was coming up with all of these unique ways that I could make it work and put a deposit down and everything. And when it came time to sign the paper, basically to sign the lease, uh, I was thinking more about how do I get out of this than like excited about starting it. And we backed out like at the very last minute. We were like, we can't do it. And like we were having trouble getting financing and stuff too for it. So I think that was part of this, like starting this thought of like it was the fear, right? Um, and so yeah, we backed out last minute, and then for a while I was very lost in my business because I was like, that was it. That was my thing. Like that was the next step. And I deemed it as a failure, right? And the funny thing is now looking back, I'm like, I don't view it as a failure anymore. But for a few years, I was like, I failed. I was gonna do this thing and I couldn't do it. But now like I see it differently in the position that I'm in now. especially going through the pandemic, right? I'm like, thank God I didn't have that space. Like, um, but it's not a failure to me anymore. I look at it, I'm like, that was actually like a smart business decision to not take on that space. Like it was too big too fast and wasn't ready for that stage in my career. And so it's funny too how some of those failures, and maybe you could even look at that in your example too of, was it even a failure? Maybe not. Like maybe it was just like a really good learning opportunity, right?
Yes, I really see that if you're decided that, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, I think the universe, the marketplace, whatever you believed in, they always test you.
Hmm.
They always test you. Oh, yeah, you wanted to become a full-time filmmaker? Okay, I will test you with this person.
Yeah.
See if you can pass that test. And for me, I see that like as a test. But once you pass the test, man, you will deserve it. Okay, yeah, he's decided. Okay, let's give him something.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's how I see it. That's how I see it.
Me too. Me too. And my life in martial arts, I think really brought that out of me as well. It's like everything's a test. It's like you go to a tournament, you lose. What did you learn? How do you get better? Right? Every time you want to get to the next level, you have to take a test for it, right? You have to test your skills, you have to test your conditioning and like all these different things. And it forces you to look at everything of like there is no failure. Like there is, but there's always something that you gain from every situation. And there's maybe always something that you lose too, but you have the choice. What do you focus on? Do I focus on what did I lose from this failure, or do I focus on what do I gain? Because whatever you focus on, that's the thing that you're going to get from it, right?
That's amazing. I love it, Kyle. Love it. Love it.
Me too. Me too. This has been a really fun conversation. Is there anything I want to respect your time? I know you're very busy. You've probably got things to edit. But is there anything that we haven't touched on yet that you wanted to make sure that we touched on in this episode?
I think going back to that just starting, man, you just have to start. That's true. Just do those things and eventually you will get there. Um, I think people are crippled on the lack of resources they have, but if you just if you are coming from a place of serving people and not getting from people,
Hmm.
man, you will find that thing that you really want.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. And I think people are more connected than they give themselves credit for too. I know I've had to remind myself of this. It's like I'm like, oh, I have no friends. I'm just this like lonely entrepreneur. It's like I'm more connected than I give myself credit for. It's just a matter of, like you said, you got to add value to people and be willing to like see like where can I contribute. And if you go into it, especially as somebody who's an introvert, like networking is not an easy thing. I don't know if you found that too, but it's like when you can approach it in a place of like, how do I give as an introvert, that becomes a lot easier to network in that way, right? It's a lot less intimidating.
I agree. I agree. I'm an introvert, by the way, so
Yeah,
it's hard for me too.
I know it is tricky. I deem myself as a bit of an introvert as well, even though I'm, constantly on camera and stuff like that, like trying to put content out. I am an introvert but providing value is a really good way to get your foot in the door, right? And feel good about it. So
That's amazing. I love
where
it,
can
Kyle.
where where can people find you? I want people to soak up your content and see what you're all about. So where can people find you?
You can just type my name on YouTube and Instagram. I'm creating content, more content like you. I'm so inspired on what you're doing, Kyle, and I think that's the next level, just to add value in a massive way. People can you can touch people in that
Mhm.
way in just one video. So yeah, it's just YouTube or Instagram.
Okay. Awesome. So I'll include some links in our show notes as well to this episode. But yeah, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, man. You're truly authentic and genuine, and I really, really respect that. And above all, like with all that, you're also extremely talented at what you do. So I really hope people go and follow you and check out your content and hire you because you can add a ton of value to anybody's life or business. So
Thank you so much, Kyle. You're awesome.
thanks. And thanks everybody for listening. or watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Well, Wellness Ninjas, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Berryl. He's a true inspiration for following your passions, following your dreams, and creating a life of purpose. And I hope that inspires you to follow your passions, to create your dreams, and to live a life of purpose. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and comment. Your engagement really helps us reach more people with this podcast, and we appreciate you being here and listening. You can reach us on Instagram at Wellness Dojo YYC or at Wellness Dojo Podcast, and by searching the Wellness Dojo and the Wellness Dojo Podcast on all other platforms. Thanks for being here. See you in the next episode.